Africa Law Society Secretariat in Arusha, Tanzania. And we are absolutely thrilled to ignite this very wonderful webinar discussing a very timely topic on litigating with purpose, leading with strength, empowering women lawyers in a changing legal landscape. So today we are fueling a movement to empower women lawyers to shatter barriers, lead with bold impact, and redefine the future of law across East Africa. And indeed, this is a session where one would say passion will meet action. And the voices you'll hear today are voices that are driving transformation across the region. It is my honor now to introduce my good friend and moderator, Miss Brenda Ongalo, who is not only a woman lawyer or female lawyer, but she's a sports enthusiast and one of the few that I know in the region, but also she serves as the head legal at Afritech Limited. So Brenda, we are really honored to host a luminary like yourself in this legal world, whose insight and dynamism is going to guide our very electrifying session this afternoon. Brenda, it's an absolute honor to host you. We are very humbled and profoundly honored to have you for this session, and we're excited to hear from our panelists and learn from them. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's buckle up and join this inspiring journey. Over to you, Brenda.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Let me recognize the presence of our esteemed chair, the East African Law Society Women Committee, Women Lawyers Committee, Angela Munga Mwandumbo, who is one of our panelists today. So, good afternoon, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar with the theme Litigating with Purpose, Leading with Strength, Empowering Women Lawyers in a Changing Legal Landscape. My name, as you've heard, is Brenda Ongalo. Most people know me for sports law. And it is that time when we are hosting Shan and the temperatures are high, and yeah, it's good to be here. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and also double up as a member of both the ELS Sports Committee and the Women Lawyers Committee. This is my first session moderating for this particular committee, and it's an honor. With regard to today's topic, we are here to discuss litigation strategies and leadership styles, but also just to explore what it truly means to lead with purpose. How do you advocate with conviction? How do you thrive as women in a profession that is both demanding and constantly evolving? Because we recognize that, yes, a lot has been given to us. And when you look at the landscape, and especially the legal profession, we see women dominating, and the numbers of women keep on surging in the particular profession. So there is no excuse for us to say that there needs to be any difference. We also just need to constantly evolve with the profession. Our profession is significantly being transformed, and especially in the age of technology, reshaping how we are practicing, reshaping our client expectations, the demands that we have, the social movements, the greater demand for gender equity, inclusion, and accountability. So in the midst of all these changes, women lawyers are not just adapting, we are leading. And I'm very honored to be moderating a session with trailblazers in this particular field. With me, together with our chair, is Madam Beth Mishoma, Deborah Nyokabi, and Rachel Nasani, who will be taking us through the particular topics. So without further ado, I'd want us to begin with Beth Mishoma. Beth Mishoma, take it over from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Just a minute, let me share. So thank you very much, Brenda. I hope my slides can be seen. Hello, Brenda, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see your screen. We can see your slides. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Beth, as Brenda has alluded to, and today I want to speak about something that is very important for women in law, not only women lawyers, but women at the bar and at the bench, and the students who are coming behind us, because we must instill in them the values to be able to lead as early as possible before they get into the bar. So I will be talking about leadership with impact, our calling to lead with strength and purpose. And one of the things that I would like to talk about as a way of presentation is the issue of basically having a bit of a reflection. How exactly did we get to where we are? After having a bit of a reflection, I want us to go down memory lane. How was it, in terms of the people who came before us? I would like to speak about some historical barriers, for women to study in law. I would like to speak about the impact of us breaking those barriers. Then I would like to get into leadership versus position, and we'll speak a bit about a guiding compass. Then I will leave it up to all of us to recognize some of the trailblazers, who have come before us and who are continually hitting the spot in terms of leadership in law right now. So just take a second to reflect. Do you remember why you studied law? Why you studied law is actually your compass for your entire life. If perhaps you started on the wrong footing, that compass can change in the middle. So why did you study law? Was it for the fame? Was it for career advancement? Was it for social impact? Was it for wealth? Was it because you had a desire for leadership? Was it because you saw a role model or you were mentored into studying law? Was it because you found law intellectually challenging and stimulating? Or was it because, you wanted revenge on the patriarchy who told you you could not do it? Then a second point of reflection, how easy was it to study law for you in terms of, a scale of 1 to 10? Personally, it was a 10 because I had a very supportive support system, which allowed me to study what I wanted. So for you, between 1 and 10, how easy was it for you to study law? Then, now that we have those two questions on a personal level, let us take a look at the journey of women in law in East Africa. The journey was hard. At the start, women in law basically had to fight to get into law school. They had to fight to get into the bar associations. And what they wanted at the core of it was to be able to change society, to be able to change the ease with which women in law could enter into law schools, could enter into bar associations. In short, they wanted recognition and equality. So some of the historical barriers that women faced getting into the legal space, of course, were economic. We know in the past that women were not in charge of finances. They were not in charge of their inheritance. They were not in charge of land. So getting finances hedged upon you being able to convince a paternal figure, your brother, your father, your grandfather, to be able to pay for you for law school. Of course, there was issue of gender bias, where you found that basically the people who basically ran the law school were of our opposite gender. And they did not think that women were capable of studying law. And we must be very cautious to say that it was only men who thought that women were not capable to study law. Also, other women did not think that women were smart enough to enter into law school and take upon themselves a career of law. Of course, there was societal perception. We know possibly our mothers, our aunts, or our grandmothers who are told your first role is to get married. So, as a woman who said you wanted to study law, first of all, you were seen as unmarriageable. You were seen as somebody who would come up and beat their husband if by God's grace, you are able, to surpass the issue of marriage. You were seen as a goon. You were seen as unfeminine. In fact, people thought that women in law, their work is to wear trousers and have short hair. So that actually went against the norm of society of what they thought a woman should be. And then, of course, women were excluded from legal institutions. There were laws which excluded women from being able to enroll in law schools. Or if you were able to pass the hurdle of being enrolled in law school, then the Bar Association would not take you. Or sometimes, because of judicial discretion, the courts would choose not to hear you. So the worst of them all was the hostility and discrimination. If by chance you are able to pass all these hurdles, you had been admitted to the bar, and now you are practicing, then the issue would be, would you be able to appear before court? You know, would opposing counsel be able to respect you? And you found in most moments that was not so. They would not respect you. The judge would not respect you. And you would find as a woman in law that you're losing quite a number of cases. And if you lost cases, you would not have clients. And that is how women in law basically faded into obscurity. But, you know, despite the long-standing barriers, the people who came before us, the women in law who came before us, really fought, you know, to have us at the same par with the male, with our male counterparts in the profession. They toiled, they sweated, they ensured legal reform, they advocated for, you know, us being able to step in law school, to be able to step in bar associations with courage, like we belong there. And because of that, they have left a lasting impact on the law field. We are leaving a lasting impact in the legal field in East Africa. So what is our impact now that we are in the space? Of course, we find that women in law are represented everywhere in society, perhaps in some East African countries more than other East African countries, but we are getting there. So you will find us in spaces of leadership. You will find us enhancing diversity in legal practice. Now, many women lawyers have their own practices. Many women lawyers are becoming judges. If you look at the landscape, the East African landscape in terms of in-house counsel, you'll find that most in-house counsel are women in law. So we are being represented everywhere. In parliament, you will find that at least 50% of the women who are getting into parliament are women in law. So representation is happening slowly but surely. Of course, you will find us in advocacy. One thing that is synonymous with a woman in law is picking up a cause. You will always have a cause that you advocate for, whether it's a cause of clean water or a cause of ensuring gender equality. You carry with it everywhere that you go. So because of this, you find whether it's through your legal practice as you're litigating, or whether it's because of you know, you being able to capacity build communities, or whether it's in parliament, or whether it's in even, you know, courts. You're trying to always overturn something that you see that it is a social injustice. So we are really represented in advocacy. Then, of course, in legal reforms. I mean, if you take a look at most attorney general chambers, you will find that the majority of people who actually work as, you know, work in the attorney general's chambers are women in law. You will find that in parliament, like I said before, at least 50% of women who are in parliament, you will find that they are lawyers. At the Bar Association, you will find that we are more quick to be able to send in comments about the legal reforms that are happening and why we think it should change and why we think this law is discriminatory and it should be scrapped off, or we think this law should go this way. You will find us, of course, even on our finance bills on an yearly basis, we're looking at it through an issue, you know, a lens of gender equality. Is this money going where it is supposed to be? Is it being used on the women that we care about, or on the girls we care about, or on the boys who are coming up? So you will always find us in some way in legal reform, wherever we walk around. But with us being in the spaces, and though we have to acknowledge that we have not yet reached where we are comfortable and we can say 100% as women in law, we are comfortable in terms of leadership. But for now, there is another problem which is cropping up. The problem is we are thinking in terms of quotas. We want to see the first female Chief Justice. We want to see the first female Attorney General. We want to see the first female Bar Association President. But there's something we don't ask ourselves. What exactly is the value added? And that is the problem that is coming up, that we are more focused on position rather than the impact coming from the position. So, as I mentioned, we have an emphasis on position rather than leadership, which I really think should change. So, many people or many of us assume that holding a high position automatically makes, you a good leader. But I beg to differ. I beg to differ because real leadership is about influence, it's about integrity, and it's about the ability to inspire others regardless of your title. So it does not matter if you're a first-year student, it does not matter if you're an associate, it does not matter if you're a partner, it does not matter if you're, the head of your legal department at a corporate or in government. It does not matter whether you're attorney general, but at the core of it, are you able to influence people without your title? So if you're not able to do that, and we need to recognize that, a true leader earns respect through their actions, empathy, vision, and not just their authority. If we are not able to recognize that, then we have a real problem. We cannot keep on saying that women in law are leading. We have now to change and say women in law are in position. I want you to keep it as a reminder to us that you can lead from any seat in the room. If you wait until you become Attorney General, let us say from the start of your career to Attorney General, that's about 20 years. So all this time you would have wasted very good chances to be able to change not only the legal landscape, but the societal landscape. So wherever you are, any seat of the room, whether it is at the start of your career, whether it is at the tail end of your career, remember you are able to effect change through your leadership. So I have this mathematical formula or legal formula here. I say that leadership equals change. Leadership plus position equals accelerated change, because now you are at the top. You are able to open doors that necessarily other people are not able to open. But now the issue becomes position without leadership attributes actually brings about minimal to no change. There is no lasting change which will happen if you are in power, but you have no leadership attributes. So I want to put it out as a caution, because this goes down to the crux of our own personal nature. We should all aspire to position. Actually, let us fight for it. But remember that position without leadership attributes is a one-way ticket to erosion of all values and self. And why exactly do I say this? You can imagine you're in a position, let me take it as a bar association leader. No, let me take it as Attorney General. I like Attorney General. You are the Attorney General of a nation. You do not have honesty. You do not have integrity. You do not have, the temerity to stand firm when you're needed. Then you will become a stooge of whoever who is in power. They will be able to erode all your morals. They will erode all your ethics until at the end of the day, when you leave that position, you do not know who you are. You have forgotten where you have started. So remember, and it is a caution for all of us, as we aim high, get that position with your leadership attributes. Be kind, be empathetic, always ensure collaboration with other women in law, ensuring that you have a lasting impact on the legal sphere and on the societal sphere. So just remember, do not erode all your values for position. And the only way you can be able to do that is that when you get into that position, remember you have been a leader all along. So the transition will not be as hard as you may think. So now we are here, we are leaders, we are in power, we are leaders in our own spaces. But what do we have that other people don't have as women in law? What is our leverage? And our leverage comes from our leadership style. We lead with strong emotional intelligence. We are able to scan and read a room. We're able to know what buttons to be able to push so that we can effect change. We focus on real rather than cosmetic change. Real change is once you get into leadership or into a position, you know that I need to change the systems to be able to ensure that all my sisters-in-law are able to come into the space, not bringing in only 10 women and then you say, when I was Attorney General, my office consisted of 10 women, but you have not dealt with the systemic, down-putting of the women in law. We emphasize, of course, collaboration. We make friends easily. So you will find that you're able to, collaborate with people from very different spheres. Secondly, we are us. We have diverse perspectives. We think about things from very many different angles. We are resilient. I mean, what other profession has gone through the upheaval that the women in law have gone through? And yet we have pulled through. So we are resilient. We are able to think about the long game. We are always committed to equity. When you sit in a room and find that you are alone, you will look around and say, I think I need more of my sisters, more of women who are in law in this particular room. So we are committed to equity. I want to bring in a quote by a lady called Ali Anson, and she says, women lawyers embody resilience and empowerment, leading by example to break barriers, inspire change, and foster a culture of mentorship that extends beyond the courtroom into society. If you question yourself right now, does this quote apply to you? I think that is something we are going to take away with us. So lastly is my guiding compass. Yes, you have a leadership. You have leadership attributes. Yes, you're a leader in the room. But more dangerous than a person who is in position and has no leadership attributes is a leader who has no purpose. That one is just a rebel without a cause. You have no cause guiding you. So find out what your purpose is in life. And of course, following the compass, the north is your passion. What excites you? What energizes you? What are the causes that make you wonder, why is this happening? And I need to fix it. The east is, of course, is your strengths. List down all your strengths, your skills, and unique qualities. Am I able to write? Then let me write about my course, whether it's gender equality, write it down. The south is your values. What are my values? Honesty, creativity, service, integrity. Then that will tell you how you will lead throughout your entire legal career. And of course, the west is your impact. Where can I make a difference? Is it in my community? Is it in another person's community? Is it in law itself, where we are talking about bringing up and ensuring that we have women as partners and as managing partners as that? Then solve that problem. Is the problem the issue about, perhaps sexual harassment in the legal profession? Then that is where your impact can be felt. Use your skills to be able to come up with that impact. Then lastly, write your purpose statement. Combine everything and come up with a purpose statement on what exactly do I want to do during my legal career. Draft your purpose statement, and your purpose statement, of course, will look like this. My purpose is to use my strengths and passions, of course, you've listed them down, to impact in a way that honors my values. And that will be your guiding light throughout your entire legal career. So to finish off, look at our countries which are part of the East African Law Society, our bar associations. Of course, we have Rwanda, we have Burundi, we have Ethiopia, we have Kenya, we have South Sudan, we have Uganda, and we have the country of Tanzania, which combines the Tanganyika Bar Association and the Zanzibar Bar Association. So, out of all our countries, who are the women who have inspired you in law? Who are the trailblazers? Those trailblazers, kindly just in the chat, write who inspires you. So Kenya hyphen so and so inspires me, so that we are able to take up all these women and be able to appreciate them at the end of this session. If it is you, say it is me. I inspire myself, and I aim to inspire the future generations. And I think because we are live streaming this, at the end of it, go to the YouTube for the East African Law Society. I'm sure Gabriel will be able to tell us how to get it. Just type down, I am inspired by so-and-so in Kenya. For instance, the woman who made me get into law was Martha Karua. I am inspired by Martha Karua. She comes from Kenya. So that when there is anybody else who's coming to go through that particular presentation, they're able to search, what made this woman inspire so-and-so? What was so good about her? How did she carry out her law career? And with that, we will inspire each other as we go forward. So other than that, I think Brenda will guide us. Possibly the questions will come at the end, but thank you very much to you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation, Beth. I am sorry I did not do you justice by reading out your bio at the beginning of this, because you are one of the women lawyers who actually inspire a whole lot of us. So allow me to just read it now briefly. Beth Mishoma, who's just finished presenting the powerful presentation that we have received, is an award-winning advocate of the High Court of Kenya, as well as an accomplished literator and author. She is a proprietor of Mishoma and Co-Advocates, a law firm that specializes in legislative drafting, post-legislative scrutiny, research, advisory services, and capacity building initiatives. Additionally, she serves as the executive director and editor of the Maritime Hub Africa, an organization dedicated to enhancing capabilities of African communities in relation to the continent's blue resources, including maritime transport and fisheries, as well as integration of traditional knowledge. She holds the position of executive director and editor at the Facets of Africa, an organization focused in narrating African stories and archiving continent's collective knowledge. Beth currently serves at the advisory board of the World Law Alliance and Maziwa Breastfeeding, holds a position as an officer on the Poverty and Social Development Committee, the International Bar Association. She has previously served as a council member of the Law Society of Kenya and a chairperson of the Gender Committee from 2020 to 2022, during which she achieved significant milestones, including petitioning the former Chief Justice Emeritus to advise the President of Kenya to dissolve Parliament for non-compliance with the two-thirds gender rule. So you can actually see that the panelists are not just here, but they're actually people who are leading and doing things to change the landscape, albeit with the regard to women issues in the particular field. She has quite a long bio and proper qualifications and has held quite a number of them. So because of time, I may not go through this because we will take another 10 to 15 minutes just talking about Beth. So without further ado, we move to our second panelist, who is Rachel Nyasani. And Rachel Nyasani will be the second panelist. Allow me to read her bio. Just a minute. Okay, you may just proceed. We'll do this again towards when you finish for uniformity purposes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really, really grateful to be a part of this panel. And I'll just do a brief introduction. I'm Rachel Nyasani. I come from a different vantage point. I'm a corporate commercial lawyer. And today I shall be speaking to you regarding how to implement legal tech tools in your everyday practice and how you can use technology to leverage your skills. So I shall share my screen in a minute and we will proceed. Could you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Great.
Set.
Give me 1 second, please. Oh, sorry, just need to change the setting. Yep, everyone. Thank you once again of joining us. And to begin this session, I will pick on what, or I'll pivot from what Beth inspired us to reflect on, which is why did you choose to study and practice the law? And in this event, I want you to think about how you can optimize the legal processes that you already have at the moment in a way that will enable you to focus on your client management and reduce operational inefficiencies. So legal innovation has transformed the way we practice law by optimizing mundane tasks and enabling us to focus on client care and also have a work-life balance. And by this, I will continue to the next slide. Why does this matter? Through the practice of law, especially in litigation practice, we have seen there's a rise in case data volumes. It is a very text-heavy sort of specialization, whereby in order to prepare for a case or your case strategy, you have to review a multitude of legal documents and text. You have to devise your strategy through looking at case law reports and legal concepts. And with the globalization of trade, we deal with different facets of cross-border. So you're looking at laws in one jurisdiction, which might differ from the one that you practice in. So digital transformation has revolutionized access to justice with tools such as e-filing systems, and this was pivoted from the COVID time, and also virtual case courtrooms, whereby advocates are able to present and attend hearings online from different locations. And as such, this has boosted productivity in the event that once these processes are automated, you're able to work at a faster speed and you have better client service. So a successful legal practice will put technology at the heart of its operations. And by this, we are talking about how do you use the tools, starting from the very simple tool, whether that is a document management tool or whether that is AI, to leverage your legal practice. So why does this matter? Legal tech uses tools that simplify legal tasks. Sorry, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen because I'm looking for some notes that I cannot be able to locate. Sorry, just please give me a minute.
All right. We can do the bio as you get your notes so that we're not. Rachel Nasani is a Kenyan corporate commercial lawyer based in London, England. She holds a Master's of Laws in Technology, Media and Telecommunication from Queen Mary University of London, a Bachelor's of Laws degree from the University of Nairobi, and a postgraduate diploma from the Kenya School of Law. She is a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya and member of the Law Society of Kenya. She is also a certified information privacy professional accredited by the International Association of Privacy Professionals. Her practice focuses on corporate structuring, technology contract management, regulatory compliance, data protection, and intellectual property maintenance, with a particular focus to technology-enabled businesses. Rachel is deeply committed to advancing financial and digital identity inclusion initiatives. She has advised organizations operating in East Africa, the EU, and UK markets on the development of innovative and compliant products that promote equitable access to socioeconomic services while upholding the fundamental right to privacy. With a strong grasp of the startup ecosystem, she's passionate about resolving legislative and regulatory challenges faced by the technology-driven enterprises. enabling them to scale efficiently and sustainably. She has also served as a member of the Technology and Media Telecommunications Committee at the East African Law Society from 2022 to 2024. You may proceed.
Great, thank you so much. Just confirming that you can see my screen now.
Yes, you can see it.
Great. So in terms of the legal tech landscape, what is legal technology? And this refers to all devices and techniques that help users interact and navigate with the law. There's different facets on the legal tech tools that we use, and the first of which is document automation. Document automation can mean different things depending on the context, but for law firms, it's about producing accurate and compliant documents with ease. This includes ensuring documents comply with professional regulations and standards, allowing for customization to reflect on the specifics of each case, providing access to original and altered templates for consistency and reliability, and linking documents to the correct client and case for straightforward retrieval. Law firms can gain numerous benefits from automating and creating of legal documents. Automation ensures standardized formatting, enhances accuracy, and minimizes the risks associated with such errors. With an efficient document management system, lawyers can save hours or even days when drafting complex legal documents. The second tool is our case management tool, and this can entail electronic bundling, electronic presentation of evidence, management of trial transcripts, and management of disputes from the outset by centralizing case preparations, tools, and processes. The third is AI tools, and this it may encompass different facets of AI. And at first, we can look at generative AI tools within case preparation platforms, which assists with document summarization and extracting entities like dates, events, people, and organizations. They support faster initial document review and building the chronology from the start. These are tools which provide data-driven insights to understand the likelihood of a case succeeding at trial. Drafting pleadings is another area where generative AI can support litigation lawyers with a significant time-saving benefit. For example, international firm Taylor Wessing recently used its own generative AI tool to produce documents based on a fictional case study where the parties had agreed to mediate. The material produced, which included a mediation statement, an opening statement, served as a helpful fast draft for a lawyer to further develop. Again, we have AI litigation tools, which use machine learning to identify legal principles, standards, and elements in court opinions, and then present the most relevant cases concerning the topic at issue. These tools analyze the arguments and authorities in a legal brief and help you spot holes, citations, and quotes for accuracy. They help you find or check authority and jumpstart our response. The last one is the virtual court platforms, which, as I mentioned before, several courts within East Africa and the greater realm have adopted to enable the faster dispensation of justice. In terms of advocacy in action, case management platforms enable lawyers to collaborate in a single space to review, mark up, and annotate documents. They help to prepare the case chronology and, importantly, link chronology events to underlying documentary evidence. Some of these platforms have the added benefit of building e-bundles to accompany instructions to counsel or for interim procedural hearings, which eliminate the need to export documents out of one platform and import them into another tool. These tools may also provide secure ways for the mutual sharing of documents and information about the progress of a case with clients and other stakeholders via dedicated portals. Legal tech can also be leveraged in terms of presenting digital evidence, whether that's during a hearing or witness examination, and also in the generation of case briefs and summaries. So next, we shall look at a couple of AI tools in practice, which are used from an enterprise level, and we can trickle this down into how you can apply it in your day-to-day tasks. So the first, we shall look at research and drafting. I'm sure a lot of you have experience with the LexisNexis and Westlaw, which is a leading legal research platform with AI-driven search capabilities for African and international case law. So if you are working on case strategy and you need to draft your pleadings or draft your argument, these tools are a fast way of reducing the time spent within your research, and you can use specific prompts of seeing how to craft your argument and what other leading precedents have said on the particular legal principle. So Harvey drafts clients' alerts based on emerging legislation and summarizing judgments. It's built on OpenAI's GPT technology and fine-tuned specifically for GPT workflows. It runs on secure environments on enterprise-level data handling standards, which is critical in legal practice. It integrates tools with tools like Microsoft Word and document management systems, so firms don't need to change their existing workflows. Then on the contract management and analysis front, we have products such as Luminance AI and Kira Systems. And Luminance is a specialist AI company breaking the repetitive nature of contract management through automating the contract negotiation process and finding any key information within your existing contracts. So with this, you can use it to negotiate and look for specific information within contracts. And it has a red, amber, green sort of analysis. So depending on the data, the data that has been trained, that has been used to train that system, it can show you how you have negotiated past clauses within your organization with different clients and tell you what are your do's and don'ts. For example, if it has a limitation of liability clause or governing law or dispute resolution clause, it can tell you how you have in the past drafted such clauses, and you can use that to leverage on the particular document you're looking at. Next, we have Kira, and Kira is a natural language processing software which comprehends human linguistic patterns and transposes them into machine-readable instructions. The NLPs are used in M&A transactions to carry out due diligence exercises at scale, as they can review multitudes of data, identify risks, extract information, and tabulate results. And an example of this would be Clifford Chance, which used Kira to review about 4,000 documents for an M&A transaction, and this reduced the due diligence timeframe by 20%. The third one would be a litigation analytics tool. The one leading in the market right now, I would say, is Bloomberg Law. And Bloomberg Law has a legal knowledgement database that has curated several machine learning tools which have transformed legal research in trial preparation. The Brief Analyzer is one of the tools that enables litigation lawyers to review opponent briefs by identifying and evaluating legal authorities cited in the brief and formulating a compelling rebuttal. We have a litigation analytics tool, again under Bloomberg Law, which improves litigation strategy by reviewing large data sets of case law and company information, visualizing trends and predicting outcomes using data analytics and scenario thinking. Another tool is Points of Law, again under Bloomberg, which strengthen the litigant's claim or defense by leading case law and court opinions to elucidate the principles of law. The reduced timeframe within which lawyers prepare high-quality pleadings using machine learning expedites the processing of litigation claims and consequently the delivery of justice. So what are the challenges that we experience using these legal tech tools? First, there's a frequent change in terms of procedural rules that are dispensed in court. As law firms explore new legal tech options to manage their cases, they must prioritize law agnostic tools to minimize the work required and keep them up to date due to future rule changes. So from time to time, you might find that the law might evolve faster than these tools, and you will sit in a position whereby it's outdated. So it's very important to work with your technical team. And as you're going into the market to look for these tools and systems, you ensure that proper due diligence is done and you procure a tool that speaks to the business needs that you have. So secondly, litigation lawyers continue to grapple with managing volumes, increasing volumes of data alongside an influx of information from diverse data sources and types. To effectively handle these complexities, the technology must be scalable while updating to a range of data sources and types. The third risk is with regards to the use of AI. As we know, there have been ethical issues arising in terms of the employment of AI in legal practice and even in general use. And this could be hallucination of the system, which would lead to inaccuracy of the outcomes. Then we have bias. The information that has been used to train this system is very important to have that of high quality and to ensure that this is filtered of any sort of like discriminative practices so that you are able to dispense fairness in terms of the rules of law. Another issue would be privacy. As we know, the algorithmic systems and operations are very opaque, and it's quite hard sometimes to be able to navigate the rationale as to which a result has been obtained or an outcome has been generated by an AI system. So it's very important to look as in terms of data flows, what data is fed into these systems, ensure that personal data of your clients or confidential information is not fed into an AI system, and also ensure that in terms of where your provider is located, if it's not in your particular jurisdiction, then you have the proper technical and organizational standards and procedures to ensure the safety of your data. The last one would be the setup costs. We all know that to employ these legal tech tools, especially the ones that I adduced to in my previous slide, can be very costly in terms of procuring and also systemic updates. So it's important, again, to see how much need your organization has and what the budgets are, and ensure that you are taking opportunity costs and it's not working against your bottom line. So what do you consider when you're procuring a legal tech tool? The first question is, what do you do right now in your team and how do you do it? So this is a review of the systems and processes that you have in your legal team, and ensure to identify the pain points and where you need to ameliorate these systems and processes. Secondly, what issues are causing you unnecessary stress? Again, what are these business pain points and this mundane tasks that you would like to optimize and automate? Where are your biggest cost centers, and what do your clients say they want most from you? So for example, corporate clients are intimately aware of your prior litigation outcomes, and showing an understanding of their past experiences, it helps you identify the trends, avoid pitfalls, and improve your overall representation. So how do you empower yourself in terms of using AI and legal tools to ameliorate your practice? So there's free resources at the moment online, and IAPP is a very credible resource. This is the International Association of Privacy Professionals, which normally from time to time has knowledge net meetings. These are community discussions that describe, the latest trends in legal tech and how that can be employed in your day-to-day practice. We have courses on Coursera and also FutureLearn. There's different communities. I would say the leading one in East Africa, at least in my country, Kenya, would be the Lawyers Hub. At the end of this presentation, I will show you, I have a link that has the state of legal tech update. It's a bit dated, but it would be a very great resource in terms of seeing what sort of legal tools are available within the East African market that you can employ. And then the last one would be strategy. Start with one new tool per month. This does not have to be anything complex, but it can be, how would I document or manage my documentation at the moment? Would that be by, downloading a tool like Asana? Would that be, taking a course with my team and learning how to optimize Microsoft Planner instead of, having everything in the shared drive and exposing your important information to risk? So lastly, I would say get started today. Audit your workflow. Digital transformation does not take a one-size-fits-all approach. Every legal practitioner should develop a unique model by mapping out the client journey, identifying redundant processes, and procuring appropriate legal tools that can be integrated into your technology stack. Lawyers are encouraged to obtain a try before you buy subscription to ascertain the technology's value before purchase. Choose one tool to adopt this month and create a learning group. It is imperative that legal practitioners embrace technology and understand how legal tech tools function. Here represents a multidisciplinary professional with a core grounding in legal skills, complemented by project management, legal design, or computer programming skills. So lastly, the future of the legal profession is not oblique, but lawyers will be compelled to rise with the tides so as to provide a more holistic experience for their clients. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rachel, for that insightful presentation that you've just given to us on how practical, a very practical session on how women lawyers can harness AI tools and virtual platforms and cutting edge technologies to enhance access to justice and to thrive in the evolving legal landscape. There are a couple of questions I can see on the Q&A section. We'll respond to them at the tail end of this particular presentation. Our next panelist will be Ms. Deborah Nyokabi, a program officer at Equality Now. Deborah?
Thank you, Breda.
Thank you, and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll just like to thank Beth and Rachel for the excellent presentations and setting the scene. So, as introduced, I'm Deborah Nyokabi. I work as a program officer at Equality Now, and we work towards a just world for women and girls. One of our thematic areas is achieving legal equality. So we work at the national, regional, and global levels to ensure that sex discriminatory laws are eliminated. And as we know, it's not possible to achieve legal equality without achieving equality for women in the law. I'll speak through my talking points and share the presentation later. So just allow me to reflect briefly to May 30th, 2025. I think I was in transit when I started receiving WhatsApp messages congratulating Professor Atia Waris for being Kenya's second full female law professor. And I was very happy for her and very grateful for that milestone for women. But on the other hand, I was quite concerned that there are only 2 full female law professors in Kenya in the year of our Lord 2025. There are, of course, other law female professors, but they're just associate professors. And they're also quite a handful, I think not more than 5. So the gap is really, really great. And we need to break down the bias and address the barriers, both in practice, the judiciary, academia, civil society, as well as in bar leadership and the judiciary. So as I was doing my research, one of the key resources I found is a gender scorecard in the legal profession done by the Institute for African Women in Law. I'll be sharing that link on the chat so that participants can engage with it just as I speak. Give me one moment. Yeah, and from that survey, unfortunately, the data is limited to mostly Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, and the other 4 East African community countries are not really covered, but at least it helps to give us a snapshot and an insight into what the statistics look like. In a survey of about 78 law firms with a minimum threshold of 365 associates from 17 African countries, the East Africa average was that women constitute 25% of managing partners in law firms, only 30% of partners, and 52% of senior associates, and 53% of associate counsel. So women are more at the level of associate counsel, where they are 53%, where at the level of managing partners, they are just 25%. In terms of bar leadership, currently, again, it's only Faith Odhiambo, who's the president of a bar association in East Africa from Kenya. Of course, we had Fiona Wall from Uganda in the past 2 years, but also through the history of this 3 bar association, the Law Society of Kenya, which was established in 1948, has only had 2 women presidents in its 77 years of existence. The Ugandan Law Society, established in 1956, has done relatively well because it has had at least 4 women presidents in its 69 years of existence. Well, the Tanzania Society, I don't remember its exact name, has had 2 presidents in its 71 years of experience. And that really points to a critical gap showing how, again, we have inequality, especially at the high levels of leadership within the profession, even as the number of women as students and practitioners continue to rise. Again, if you look at the senior counsel data from the Law Society of Kenya, only 11 out of 66 are women. They constitute roughly 17%. So if the rank of senior counsel is the highest you can be granted for recognition of excellence in your practice by your peers, where are the more established women in the profession? Why are they only making 17% of senior counsel? Of the senior counsels that have been ranked within the society. Again, I'll share the link to the Law Society of Kenya website for those who want to interact with that data. When it comes to judiciaries, as we know, men have traditionally dominated the judicial field, resulting in the representation of women in many courts globally and in Africa, but significant strides have been made. And especially if we look at the international and regional courts and tribunals, an increasing number of African women have ascended to the international benches. In terms of gender parity, the overall gender parity of those courts, the International Criminal Court leads gender equality statistics with 11 out of 18 women being judges, translating to 61%. The African Court on Human and People's Rights is also doing quite well, having 5 out of 11 women, threshold of 45%. The courts that are doing not so well include our very own East African Court of Justice, where there's only 1 woman out of 10 overall judges, translating only to 10%. And the International Court of Justice, where you only have 4 women out of 15 members of that bench, translating only to 27%. And especially as we speak as the members of the East Africa Law Society, we must ask ourselves whether we can continue accepting the East Africa Court of Justice to have only 1 woman out of 10 members of that bench. And then what must we do as women and men lawyers in the region to make sure that this changes and gender equality and parity becomes a reality? Again, in national judiciaries, women judges and magistrates, according to a UNDP study, constitute only 40% of the total number, but in some countries, the judiciaries are doing extremely well, such as in Kenya, where women make up more than 50% of the judiciary. In terms of women chief justices, again, if we look at the region, Kenya has had only one, who is the incumbent Martha Koome. Rwanda has had also only one, Aloysie Sianzaire. Please forgive me for not pronouncing some of these names very correctly. Tanzania has not had one, the mainland, but Zanzibar has had Irene Masawe serve as Chief Justice. Uganda has not had a female Chief Justice at all, where in Burundi, they've not per se had a female Chief Justice, but Christine Nzeyimana has served as the President of the Constitutional Court. If we look at the public sector in terms of the executive, the Ministers of Justice and Attorney Generals, currently in the region, we only have Kenya's Attorney General, Dorcas Agiko Dual, Burundi's Minister of Justice, Domin Banyanikoba, and in Rwanda, Angelique Habriaima is serving as the Prosecutor General. And for most of them, they are also fast. So I think if we look at the time when we got independence and now some of these numbers are not acceptable, and we must really think about the reasons, the root causes, and the solutions going forward. If we look at academia, as I had mentioned, Kenyan data is there, but it's limited, but we've only had 2 full professors of law, and data in the region is not available, but it points to very, very low numbers of women in the legal academy. So what are some of the systemic challenges that are creating this picture where women are not enjoying legal equality in the legal profession? Of course, we have the differences in negotiation and networking abilities that are ingrained by patriarchy at a very young age, as Beth had mentioned, from when we are girls. The pathway to you being a lawyer is doubted and questioned, and there are a lot of barriers and obstacles to overcome. Then there is an equal pay for equal work. Surveys show that male advocates tend to earn more, and salaries and promotional pathways in most law firms and legal institutes are quite opaque, and thus making it impossible for women advocates to figure out how to climb the ladder. There's also a lot of institutional mentoring opportunities for women, as some of the available opportunities in the profession are kept by the deep and old networks of the boys' club. Then gender biases continue to derail and delays women's upward journeys. For instance, some of these even come from clients who have perceptions that women lack competence. And of course, as a female advocate, you'll have to prove yourself over and above for you to create a steady client base. Then sexual harassment, we know that this continues to be quite a problem in most legal institutions and in most law firms, where there is a power dynamic due to, of course, the presence of a lot of men at the top and women at the lower cadre, and that we've seen a lot of peers, colleagues, and even our juniors lose job opportunities or get retaliation because of sexual harassment, or because they have refused to cave in to a certain unethical demand in the workplace. Again, we do not have a gender responsive sexual reproductive health rights policies. And when it comes to the issue of maternity leave for most female associates, it's actually a high hill to climb. Most people will get dismissed constructively whenever they apply for maternity leave, because a lot of law firms may not be willing to cover for that maternity leave period. Same with menstrual health, menopause, and flexibility for leave to attend to demands as a mother, which are, of course, disproportionately higher than those of a father in our patriarchal societies. And that relates also to the double shift that women have to do, because after you come to the workplace, then you are going to be a mother in the house, and they may not be shared responsibilities when you come back from work to the house. And the care work also, including of the extended family of friends of the community, falls more disproportionately on women. And then in the region, an intersectional approach has really not been applied to see the challenges we face as women, yes, but also for women from marginalized groups who face the double intersectionalities, for instance, of ethnicity, religion, class, and other hindrances such as disabilities. We really do not have enough reasonable accommodation for such groups of women. In terms of the strategies we can apply to overcome some of these challenges, I hope to hear more from plenary, but some of those I suggest is implementing the existing treaties and soft law instruments. For instance, we have the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which has turned 30 this year, in which governments undertook to repeal all sex discriminatory laws. Most of the governments have not done so, and we need to continue to advocate for that to happen, as that then will trickle down into equality for women in the legal profession. We have the conventions, such as the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, the CEDAW, which calls for equality of women in all spheres of life, and particularly recently the CEDAW Committee, which is the body that monitors the implementation of the treaty, developed General Recommendation number 40, which establishes a global roadmap to achieve 50-50 gender parity in decision-making systems for all decision-making spaces, including formal and informal, and law firms and other legal places of work are some of the institutions that are supposed to apply this standard. We have the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the rights of women in Africa, which we call the Maputo Protocol. At least all East African community member states have ratified the protocol except Burundi. So it's important for advocates who are here from Burundi to continue advocating for the ratification and implementation of the protocol. And in Article 9, the Maputo Protocol requires state parties to ensure increased and effective representation and participation of women at all levels of decision making. We have the African Union Solemn Declaration that also requires 50-50 representation at all levels of decision making. We have the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, the African Union Agenda 2063, and really a lot of other documents that could be guiding principles for these reforms. And in particular, we have the Gender Equality in Law model policy that has been developed by the Institute of African Women in Law. I'll again share that in the chat for people who want to engage with. Yeah, so let's really advocate for this 50-50 representation, because if we are 50% of the population, then we must be 50% of the leaders. There is no other way. In terms of what has worked, especially for the Kenyan judiciary, which is one of the bodies that has managed to achieve a 50% representation, is that a gender audit was commenced in 2019, and a gender mainstreaming policy was developed in 2021, and it significantly addressed issues of transfers, maternity, flexible hours, harassment, and gender sensitivity training. And thus it is essential to conduct such gender audits across different countries and across different sectors to come up with a way forward in terms of eliminating the continuing gender barriers that continue to hold women back. It's also, of course, important to conduct capacity building and trainings, including on unconscious gender bias, because there are people who are really not aware that there's a gender problem in their firms or in their companies or in their different branches of governments and the different public institutions. Or even if it's not there, it's not really acknowledged and it's not seen by men and women themselves. So it's very important to really mainstream training. And I'm very grateful to the East Africa Law Society for offering us this opportunity to discuss this issue and shed some light on it. We also, of course, need to champion and lobby male allies at the high echelons of the legal profession, since they hold most of the power and most of the opportunities for unlocking equal representation. Then bar associations, including at the national level, at the regional level, such as the East Africa Law Society, and at the continental level, such as the Pan-African Lawyers Union, need to develop gender equality frameworks and guidance for their members, and even to center issues on the status of gender equality in the legal profession during their annual conferences. I see this often happens maybe in the terms of a breakfast meeting for women, and that is important as a tool and as a space for solidarity and mentorship, But beyond that, even in the main forum, there needs to be a session which takes context of the status of gender equality and what progress has been made, what regress has been there, and what can be done to redress the gaps that are identified every year. And then finally, as we do in civil society, it's movement building, it's groups of women getting together, such as, for instance, through the guidance of the East African Women Lawyers Committee, and also the Gender Equality in Law campaign that was launched by the Institute for African Women in Law in 2024, which addresses 4 key areas that are also in the model law that has been proposed, being ending sexual harassment, ensuring equitable hiring and promotion, ensuring equal pay for equal work, and eliminating gender bias and stereotypes, so that the pillars can guide institutions in creating safer, fairer, and more inclusive environments for women in law. As I conclude, please let me refer to one of my favorite quotes by Professor Sylvia Tamale, who is a professor at Makerere Law University, who says that the task of challenging an all-powerful patriarchal system is daunting, but certainly not insurmountable. We can do it, as Beth has said, because those before us have already blazed the trail, and it is up to us to break all the barriers. I hope that in the coming few years, we'll have a few of the people who have attended this webinar, being on the senior role council in the different bars in the continent. We need people to be judges at the East African Court of Justice, at the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and even at in the International Court of Justice, where we have a severe gender problem, and we need people to be full professors of law. So have you registered for your master's? Have you registered for your doctorate? This is how we change things. Thank you very much, and back to you, Brenda.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for taking us through the presentation on the systemic challenges that we do face as women in law, including the biases, the underrepresentation and discriminations, and how to overcome them. So it's always good that when we point out on what the problem is, we're also able to provide solutions. How do we overcome them? What measures do we need to put in place? What in terms of reforms, in terms of advocacy, how then do we build our resilience? So we now move to our final panelist of the day, and it's none other than our esteemed chairperson of the East African Law Society Women Lawyers Committee, Angela Mwandumbo. Angela will be taking us through mentorship and sisterhood. Is building a supportive network for women lawyers. She's supposed to take us through this very empowering conversation on how to create impactful mentorship, because we all do acknowledge that this profession particularly requires a lot of mentorship. You can never do it alone. You have to look at what other people are doing, be they your seniors, the people who've gone ahead of us, but also there's the aspect of peer mentorship just to help us grow together. So take it away, Angela.
Thank you very much, Brenda. I hope you can all hear me. I hope
Yes,
I'm
we can
audible.
hear you, Madam Chair.
Oh, okay, thank you, thank you. So I don't have a presentation to share because I want us to have a conversation as sisters, because I was tasked to talk about mentorship and sisterhood, building a support network for women lawyers. Even as we begin, I would like you to post on the chat section what word comes to your mind, or what do you think about? What comes to your mind when you hear the word sisterhood? Let's start there. Please post on the chat section. That is, what comes to your mind when you think about sisterhood? You see, Cynthia Mudai has posted their collaboration. Ruth Okara has said strength. Let's keep the thoughts coming. Catherine Wamuku has said safety. Pauline Mwenja has stated that ladies looking out for ladies. Sharon says it's true support. Yes, the views are coming in thick and fast. No bureaucracy, a team, loving each other, networking, bonding, supporting each other, unity in gender, togetherness, guidance, love, friendship, and the points can keep coming. And this is exactly what we seek to achieve from here. You see, there's even camaraderie, teamwork, supporting and encouraging each other. That is exactly, as sisters, what we need to do in this profession, because Deborah has spoken about the gender biases in this profession of ours. So this is why this conversation is very important, because of the gender gaps that exist in this profession. You see, as women, we face very unique challenges, whether we are in law or in any other position of leadership. The one that is not really spoken about very, very loudly, or it has not been considered a lot, is something as integral as maternity leave. You know, we don't consider what effect maternity leave has on our profession. And this is a problem that is unique to women only. Mostly because, purely because of biology. Because in a purely professional setting, gender aside, let us say there are two people here. Let's say senior associates. We have a male senior associate and a female senior associate. If the male senior associate, if his spouse gets pregnant and then they are blessed with a bundle of joy, the man will only go away from work for 2 weeks. But if the female senior associate gets pregnant, we all know, either from personal experience or through association, that pregnancy is a very special time. It might not be so easy for everyone, or people carry their pregnancies differently. And then we have the 3-month maternity leave. At least here in Kenya, we are given 3 months maternity leave. So from a purely professional view, one person will have gone off the office for only 2 weeks, and another one will have left the office for 3 months. You can imagine being away from the profession for 3 months. So this is why it is very important for women to have special or specific support systems that cater to their roles. We also have other unique challenges that are faced by women. Even as women, we celebrate women being appointed to leadership roles. Sometimes we find that women and other minorities are appointed to these leadership roles when the organization is in a time of crisis, or when they are facing imminent danger, so that their probability of failure is very high. These are just two of the two examples that came straight to my mind when I thought about why it is important to have sisterhood. So a sisterhood goes beyond mentorship, because if we are each other's keepers, going by what we have posted on the chat section, it means that we shall be alive to other nuances that only women happen to face. I know right now there's a lot of clamor for the boy child to also be empowered. But in this particular space, we have to highlight the fact that women face specific challenges. So the mentorship aspect will provide guidance and advocacy from an experienced legal perspective by professionals. And the sisterhood element will improve the community of mutual support, trust, and a shared vision. So what happens when we combine the two? We shall increase the resilience of women in this profession. And going back to what we said, we shall create a friendship, a unity, a camaraderie of sorts that will elevate all of us to the higher level in this profession. So this is why we need to go beyond the networking. And for this to be done, we need to have structures for emotional, professional, and moral support. It is said that women are emotional creatures, and This sometimes is thrown about as a negative thing, but it is actually a very positive thing, because as technical as the legal society, as the legal profession may be, we are dealing with people at the core of this profession. And to deal with people, you need to be emotionally intelligent. So this is why women are better placed to be in positions of leadership. And by the way, research has shown that women friendships have a positive impact on the psychological well-being of women. So how do we get to build this sisterhood or this mentorship within the legal profession? This one, especially for women, this one can be done through the bar associations, for example, the East African Law Society, the Law Society, the Tanganyika Law Society, etc. As chair of the Women Lawyers Committee, I'm happy to report that we are finalizing our mentorship policy, and we are going to roll that out very, very soon. This can also be done through other legal societies. For example, we have the Federation of Women Lawyers. At least I know FIDA is very active in Kenya. We also have FIDA Uganda. I'll give examples from Kenya because, I am a Kenyan. We have other legal societies where women have come together specifically to address the needs that are unique to them in their specific fields. For example, we have women in ADR, we have women lawyers in finance, we have Lady Law Firm Practitioners Society of Kenya. In Uganda, we have WOLF, that is Women Owners of Law Firms. You see, such organizations, we should be on the lookout for such organizations because already they provide a structure specifically for women. So once you are within that ambit, then you will benefit from the support that is offered there. We can also do this through other informal spaces, for example, in our religious circles, in families, and on online platforms. I know in our various bar associations, we have several WhatsApp groups, for example, Facebook groups, where people can really engage and let loose and debrief and consult each other. Because you might find that, you might think that you are the only one going through this situation, but if you join some of these informal spaces, you will find that you will find the much needed support. Then this support can also be given through intergenerational mentorship. You know, when we think about mentorship, we think about the senior ones in the profession giving back to the junior ones in the profession. But the way our profession has evolved, you might find that there could be an advocate or even a lawyer who has very few years of post-qualification experience, but they happen to be an expert in that particular field, because we have had in the recent past some new emerging fields such as fintech, AI, or ESG. I mean, our colleague Rachel spoke about the embracing technology for legal excellence, and she gave us some few tips and some examples. I'm quite sure there are many of us who have heard of those apps or programs or various technologies for the first time in this webinar. But then you might find that there is someone who could be straight out of campus, but they are very well versed in these fields. So even if you are an advocate of 20, 35 years post-admission qualification, you can have mentorship from such a young person because the word has escaped me. They are experts in that particular field. Even we could have, of course, the general image that we have for mentorship when we have seniors mentoring the others in the profession. You could also have peer-to-peer mentorship. For example, you could be of the same qualification, but one is an expert. For example, you want to break into politics, or someone like Beth, who's an expert at legal drafting, and you want to break into that. So it is all about the information flow and how it is regulated, so that as a mentor, you are in a position to give back or to empower the ones who are coming behind you in this profession. So for this to be able to work, we all have to come forward, because if you feel that you are an expert or you have something to give back to other members in this society of ours, within your various spaces, you can volunteer as a mentor. And if you feel like you are in need of guidance, you can also look up to the people whom we inspire, as we have been taken through that session by Miss Beth. You will find that most of these people are very approachable. You can even inbox them on LinkedIn or approach them respectfully, like, I would need some guidance on this and that. Because sometimes the challenge is usually matching these two groups of people who are in need of mentorship and people who would want to give back. And this is where the professional associations come in. So it is up to us to use our initiative and to volunteer both as mentors and as mentees. Every time this conversation for mentorship comes up, we tend to wonder what should be the limits for mentorship? What is actually mentorship? And what is it that mentorship is not? Because mentorship is generally a nudge in the right direction. You see, you're already heading there. It is just a nudge. It's not about being spoon-fed or being given everything on a silver platter. It is about meeting at the middle point. For example, if you aspire to join a particular organization, at least you need to have done some research. At least you need to have had the basic qualifications, so that even as you are approaching the mentor has something to work with. For example, if you are into litigation and you ask for advice from your mentor, the most they can give you is strategies. But when it comes to the actual research and the strategies, it will be up to you to do the work as the mentor, so that they just give guidance and encouragement. And then mentorship is not meant to be perpetual. You're supposed to take the advice and run with it and grow with it, and you put it to good use. But of course, that said, the aim of this session is to cultivate sisterhoods, because that filial relationship, that one will surpass the legal relationship. So we are all called upon to look out for each other in our spheres of influence. You can even be dispensing wisdom on this on your social media platforms, and those encouraging quotes or encouraging tidbits could be encouraging people, and you don't even know. That is also another form of offering mentorship. Again, the recommended period for formal mentorship is about a year, because within that period, you ought to have, as a mentee, you ought to have taken the necessary wisdom and used that to grow. And the importance of this sisterhood is that, you see, once we are together in this profession, you'll find that people will mention your name in rooms that you never thought you would enter. And it is all because you left an impression on this particular person, and you will have left your mark in the legal profession. Allow me to stop there. I'll be ready to take any questions or comments or observations hereafter. Back to you, Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. That has generated a lot of engagement on the chat section. And just to sample a few, let's go to the Q&A section first, then in the order, and any of the panelists feel free to answer a question. So we do have a question from an anonymous attendee. When we are talking, the question is, my question is not exactly related to the topic today. However, as we speak of barriers for women within the legal profession, I would like to know what the society is doing to ease cross-border practices in cross-border practice in general for advocates, whether female or male. Angela, I think you are best suited to answer this because this question will always arise in each and every ELS webinar, the question with regard to the cross-border practice. So,
Yes,
Gabriel.
indeed, it always comes up, but the bottom line is that there is a lot of let me start by saying this. Cross-border practice is more political than it is legal. Because for us to enable cross-border practice, there have to be reciprocal legislation that will allow, for example, an advocate who is qualified to practice in Kenya, they have to be allowed by law to practice in Tanzania. So it is more of a political question because it is our legislators that have to pass those laws. For example, advocates who have qualified in Uganda are able to practice in Kenya. But our advocates who have qualified in Kenya, are they able to freely practice in Uganda? Food for thought. So if there is no reciprocal legislation, it becomes hard for that to pass. But there is a lot of sensitization and very many conversations are being held, should I say, as we say here in Kenya, behind the tent. And we are looking forward to the time when we shall have an integrated East African region, just like we have one passport. The fact that I am qualified here in Kenya, I should be able to practice anywhere within the East African region. But like I said, that is still work in progress because it is a very, very political process. But let us not lose hope. There's a lot of gains that have been made. It might not be seen, it might not be visible here, but there are a lot of gains that have been made, especially in the ELS East Africa Parliament. Yeah, I forget the name. But stay tuned. Let us keep having these conversations because the more this question is brought up, it means that this is a very live issue. And let us talk to our legislators. Let us talk to our representatives at the East African Parliament so that these laws can be passed. And even if they're passed at the East African level, they still need to be passed at the national level. So it is all of us have a role to play in this one so that we progress this conversation. Back to you, Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that response. Gabriel, you had something to say about this? It particularly touches on the office.
Yeah, I thank you, Brenda, for this very wonderful opportunity to address the members. I would like to say, like my dear chairperson has intimated, there's quite a lot of work that we are doing at the Secretariat and the society as at large to bring about this vision of cross-border legal practice. And in November last year, we did finalize our comprehensive study on the status of cross-border legal practice. And we have developed a roadmap towards actualization of that vision that we have, because as ELS, we believe in practice beyond borders, and it's something that we are planning to actualize. And like Chair has said, there's too much discussions going on behind the scenes. We already have a report, and we are working with a very highly specialized cross-border legal practice committee that was established this year to ensure that the proposals that this study has brought about are able to inform our next steps as a society, either through reintroducing the bill that was sent out of Parliament in about 2013, 2014, or coming up with a model law. So there's a lot of opportunity that we have to work together. And if you're interested in being part of this initiative, please get in touch with us at info@elsociety.org and join the struggle for cross-border legal practice. But it's something we do have our best of heart as a society. So thank you so much. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you for chiming in with that. There is a question. This question was particularly for Beth Mishoma. The question was, sometimes the workplace is not a safe place to inspire change, but deep inside you yearn for that change that breaks barriers. How do you deal with this state by ensuring that your work and also ensuring that your work is not jeopardized? Beth Mishoma, you could take that if you're ready. Or any other panelist who is ready to answer that. The question, I repeat, was sometimes the workplace is not a safe place to inspire change, but deep inside, you yearn for that change that breaks barriers. How do you deal with this state and also ensuring that you do not jeopardize your work?
Let me try and take that, the advice I would give. I think it's good, if you remember Beth's presentation, it is good to know what inspires you. If you want for that change, maybe try and see what change do you really want to see? Do you want to see the change in that particular workplace? Do you want to see the change in the society? Once you identify where you want to see the change, you need to have a roadmap of what you need to do. For example, let's take, for example, that you want to see a change in your workplace. You could, all across board, we have legal provisions that pertain to employment. Is your employer compliant? For example, if you don't have policies in place, for example, a HR policy or a sexual harassment policy, you could take the initiative and maybe draft that policy and forward it to your superiors. Or if you are the superior in your place of work, what change is it that you need to see? Do you want to see better pay for your people? Do you want to give them more leave days or such? So you could start small and see what change exactly you want to see. If it is change in the society, start by thinking, can I start an NGO? Can I start giving maybe free webinars? Can I start, maybe I start a page and start giving free legal advice? Or for example, if you are a religious person, then can I go to the mosque and maybe ask to see whether I can talk to the youth, or I can talk to the women, or I can talk to the other area that you need to influence. But just start somewhere. Back to you, Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. There was a question directed to Rachel Nyasani on the AI tools. So there are two questions. Somebody asked an example of the AI tools that you're supposed to use. I believe she shared that. Then related to that still, there was a question on what, just trying to get the questions, they're jumbled up. What are the mandatory AI tools or tech tools that law firms, or rather those in legal practice, must have? So Rachel Nyasani, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for that. So I believe in terms of the legal tech tools or AI tools that are requisite for your business is very subjective, and that will depend on what your most pressing need is, the scale of your operations, and also the budget available. So for example, if you need something, for client relationship management, I shall post a few resources on the chat, but you could go to for like Wakili CRM. If you need something for billing and automation to track your hours and how you expense these services to the client, there's resources such as Clio. If you're looking into doing legal research, that would be maybe LexisNexis, and then you have caseload.africa. And if you're looking into contract drafting and reviewing, then you have your contract lifecycle management tools. You can have DocuSign, then there's Luminance and Kira. So I would say it's very subjective to what you need at that present moment, which jurisdiction you're based in. For example, if it's case law research, you need to ensure that the particular tool speaks to the law in your jurisdiction or has resources that are important for that. So what I'd say is important to do is, again, audit that workflow, identify the needs that you have as an organization. What resources do I have available? Then from that information, you can be able to prescribe the resource that's best for you. So I'll just post that. And then, as I mentioned before, I'll also post another report on the status of legal tech in Africa, which also has very comprehensive resources on the legal tech tools available in different regions in Africa. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rachel. There is a question.
Brenda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
My
you.
apologies. I managed to lock myself out somehow, but I'd really like to buttress what Angela has said in terms of our participant who was asking about safe spaces. We realize that sometimes we are unable to speak out in quite a lot of spaces, and especially in the workplace, because of the way our legal career has been situated, the senior versus junior issue. So you will find in most workplaces, especially if you're not at the top, you tend to keep your opinions to yourself. However, let me just pick a topic of random, something like sexual harassment. We should realize, as Angela said, we are a sisterhood. What you might not be able to change immediately, somebody can be able to change for you. For instance, the Law Society has a sexual harassment policy, the Law Society of Kenya. And one of the things that we say in that sexual harassment policy is that either a witness or a victim is able to report any sexual harassment changes. So in your case, and that can be done, anonymously in the case of a witness. So in that case, there is always a way. Do not keep quiet, because you see, if you're able to approach somebody in your bar association, whether it be your mentor, whether it be somebody like Angela, who is the head of the Women Lawyers Committee for ELS, you will always find a way to make change. Sometimes I think the burden we place on ourselves is to think we have to change something by ourselves because we've been able to see it. But it goes back to sisterhood and collaboration. Trust me, there is always a way. Where you sit with someone else who understands perhaps what you want to change, or your plight, or what you've seen that needs changing, you will always find a way. So change happens not only from self, but it happens also in collaboration with others. So, feel free to reach out to anybody, that you see will be able to advance what you need to deal with, to a level where you can be able to change the entire ecosystem. But then again, let me just buttress. The way the legal profession has been structured is actually not conducive for change. The senior-junior dynamics is not conducive for change at all, especially because half of the time that dynamic is misused. So feel free, collaborate, have somebody else do the heavy lifting, then you can take over at some particular point. Thank you so much, Brenda, and sorry for interrupting. Thank you.
It's okay, thank you. Maybe we should also, somebody else is asking how they can reach out to you particularly for mentorship. So maybe you could say that before you leave.
I'm around till the end. However, I'll also place my email address in the chat, and I'll send my slides to ELS. Hopefully they can get to everybody who needs them. I'll leave my contacts there. So I just drop my email in the chat. And now I'm even qualifying Something else on ELS and cross-border practice. Sorry, Brenda, I'm taking over your moderation role. We need to understand why cross-border practice has not happened. It is not a simple issue as we fear that party A will come to country B to take over litigation work. Remember, as lawyers and as women lawyers, we really have a big capacity for change. So leave litigation aside, leave contracts aside. If you're able to practice in another country, then it means you're also able to change the political ecosystem. Perhaps if your purpose is to fight for gender equality in a country where they do not want to hear about gender equality, and now you're licensed to practice there, you can be able to use the court system, you can be able to use, advocacy to be able to change the societal ills that you see. So even as we say we are doing work behind the tent, we must recognize what exactly is the cause that, that has ensured that cross-border practice has not happened. Many decades after, we say that we are going to be able to open up borders as lawyers. So if we can be able to, put our minds together and work around the concerns of most lawmakers, because you'll find that maybe only 10% of the lawyers have an issue with cross-border practice. But the lawmakers in particular will say, those Kenyans who've been fighting in the street, you're licensing them to practice law in country A, country B. They're going to come with their law. They're able to practice in our place, change things constitutionally. Then we have a problem. So that is something we really need to keep in our minds. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to our last question of the day, which I believe would be directed to our chairperson, how do you deal with bullying, and especially of young lawyers? How does one approach bullying by other women lawyers? It is humiliating. It is humiliating. So maybe your last words with that particular one, then Gabrielle can close for us the session. Thank you.
First of all, let me start by apologizing to whoever is being bullied. It is not a good feeling. And most of the time, it really reflects on the nature or on the character of the bully. That said, I believe, let me just repeat some of what Beth had said. Remember, please don't operate in isolation. I'm quite sure there are bar associations in your where you practice. There could be other associations specifically for women, or you could approach your friend, someone whom you trust. It could be your peer, or it could be another senior whom you feel safe with, and then you report your concerns. Depending on the level of bullying, I'm not saying that there's any good level, but if it has reached a criminal aspect, you could also be bold enough to report that to the police if there is any criminal element. But of importance is that speak out to someone, because I know when you are the one going through this, it could be very, very hard for you. But speak out to someone whom you trust, then maybe that other person can approach the bully or can approach the authorities on your behalf. And this is why it is very important to join a sisterhood. Remember, if the sisterhood connotes more than one person, so reach out to whoever you trust, and then they can advocate that for you. Let me leave my email address there. You can reach out in case it is something that is happening here in Kenya, or even if it is within the East African society, we can be able to see how best to assist you. I've put my email address on the chat section. Feel free to reach out. I've also seen there's somebody else who wants to reach out to me, Mr. Edwin Luke. Please, you can send me an email. I'm typing it out on the chat section again. And for all of us, let us be our sister's keeper. If you notice that maybe there's a certain change in your friend's character or in your friend's demeanor, let us normalize asking each other, how are you? How is the going? You might not be able to offer instant help at that point, but even being able to discuss or being able to share a problem will really help will really help us. So I've put my email address on the chat section. Please feel free to reach out to me. Back to you, Brenda.
Thank you so much. Gabriel, do you have anything else to say, or we can close it because it's exactly
Yeah,
4 p.m.
Thank you, Brenda. This has really been quite phenomenal. It's been not only engaging but really, really insightful. And as we come to a close of this very inspiring session, I'd like to send my deepest appreciation on behalf of my CEO, Mr. David Sigano, to our phenomenal panelists for sharing rich insights and practical strategies, and of course, for trusting us with your personal stories that have challenged and empowered us in equal measure. Thank you so much, Brenda, my dear chairperson, Beth, Deborah, Rachel, and Florence, who has not been able to join this session. We really value your expertise that has illuminated pathways for not only women lawyers. Interestingly, there were male practitioners like myself that were learning from your wealth of experience and picking a lesson or two. So thank you so much for this very wonderful session. To you, our dear participants, as usual, it's an absolute honor to have you at this very wonderful session. Your active engagement, questions, and participation has made this quite insightful. So I want us to carry on the lessons that we have learned today and apply them in our areas of practice, and you'll be amazed as to how much you will grow. The panelists we've brought today are not just any practitioners. These are titans that we really believe in, and we believe in their prowess. So you've heard it from the horse's mouth. Now the ball is in your courts to make your dream be actualized. Remember, you have a sisterhood that is, that is already functional under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Chair. And to that, I would like to bring this to an end by thanking all of you and reminding you that this Thursday we have a very interesting webinar session, and we'll be discussing the future of legal education in East Africa. We'll be looking at innovation, inclusion, and strategies of promoting our legal education. There's quite a lot that is happening in the area of legal education. There are proposals, for example, in Uganda, to liberalize the bar course, and what a timely discussion that will be happening this Thursday, 7th of August 2025. Also, be reminded that we have our in-house council convention that is happening in Kigali, Rwanda from the 21st to the 22nd of August. If you've not yet registered for that session, please register. It's the biggest gathering of in-house council in Eastern and Central Africa. So you do not want to miss that, happening in the beautiful city of Kigali, Rwanda, in just 15 days from now. So you better grab your slot, and we look forward to hosting you. But from us to you, we'd like to wish you all a very lovely afternoon. You stay blessed, stay safe, hydrate, until we meet again. Goodbye.
Thank you.